with $1.4 million in a 401k, $100,000 in a Roth IRA, if we take that and keep it safe in retirement and earn an interest rate on it, the amount of income coming off of that, what do you think, Tim?
It's pretty large.
$40,000, $50,000 a year, which
lucky.
is a lot less than what he was used to or earning. So a millionaire on paper and a pauper in life.
Yeah.
So here's someone who did all the right things, everything that they were told to do. And the question is still, what kind of lifestyle will that provide? Money can be complicated. Let a nerd help you. We're here to demystify the complex nature of money by getting you answers from financial nerds and whiz kids. Welcome to Ask the Money Nerds, a weekly segment of the Wealth Labs podcast where we answer your most pressing money questions. All right, it's time to address a pretty big issue. And as people get older and they're still trying to contribute to retirement plans, there's not a lot of time for that money to grow. And then we hear people say, wait, but there's a match, and that's free money. That's doubling your rate of return. And so we have a question that I love, and this is someone that's been diligent about saving and doing a lot of the things right. But let's see what we can do to help them.
Okay, let's dive
Stolba?
in.
Timmy.
This
Stolba.
is going to be a good one.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I mean, you might laugh through the whole thing because you're just on one today. I don't
am.
know, like what, if it's the elevation, but I like it.
The lack of oxygen.
See?
Okay,
That's
here
not
we
funny,
go.
but she laughed.
I know. I don't know if it's because I have less sleep
Yeah.
than I normally do, and I'm just feeling great. What is it? But I'm loving life. Here we go. The question came in from Robert, and here's what he has to say. I have about $1.4 million in an IRA.
Boom. That's good.
$100,000 in a Roth IRA.
Nice.
Doing a great job of saving money. And I've been making contributions to my company's 401k for the last year.
Okay.
He's 56, married with an 8-year-old daughter. And he has 27 years left on his mortgage, which is about $1,500 a month. I only have 3 years before I lose the 10% IRA withdrawal penalty. What should I do with my IRA and 401k? Stop making 401k payments, roll the money into an investment, pay off the house. Let's collaborate. Let's give them some ideas. Let's talk about this.
I'll talk about it philosophically. Then we're going to bring in Tim the Ninja to show this from an actual, calculation so people can kind of see this. But philosophically, $1,500 a month, it's going to be hard to invest in a 401k for the next few years from 56 to age 60, no matter how much you put in, and create $1,500 a month from that investment.
Yeah.
Right? That's going to be really difficult. That's $18,000 a year. That might take $500,000 in today's interest rate environments for retirees. I guess at $1,500 a month in payment on a mortgage, even if it's obviously was a 30-year mortgage, it's down to 27 years.
Yeah.
So maybe refinance 3 years ago, you get a better interest rate. That's not a very high balance. Like for $1,500 a month, what would you guess? Like $250,000?
Yeah, somewhere in that range.
So let's say it's $250,000. Okay, so $250,000, that's half the amount to free up $1,500 a month than if he invests it in today's interest rate environments. Plus, the stock market is overvalued. We're seeing a massive run-up for quite a while, and now it's starting to become really volatile. So there's a pretty short period of time. That's a lot of risk on your money to potentially create cash flow. So on a 401k, what is it, about $19,000 a year you could put into that?
That's pretty much the maximum. Yep. And so that's one of the things we don't know is how much he's contributed. So he said he contributed for 1 year, and should I keep contributing? And so we just have to kind of guess on how much he's contributing. Maximum would be about $19,000 he could put in per year.
Right.
And as you mentioned too, even in today's interest rate environments, I would guess it'd take way more than $500,000.
Right. Well, let me just throw a couple ideas out, and then we'll have you prove it out.
Perfect.
What if he saved that $19,000 a year for the next 4 years? That's close to $80,000, just short, right? Maybe with some interest, it could be that. And cash out the Roth IRA in 4 years with no penalty. That might be enough to pay off the house or come close.
Yes.
That would free up $1,500 a month. But here's the important word, guaranteed. A word that you can't really use in finance.
No.
So A, you've got the peace of mind of having the mortgage paid off. B, you don't have the market volatility, which he has $1.4 million already subject to whatever happens in the market. So even from an asset allocation decision here, an asset allocation is maybe there's stocks, maybe there's bonds. Now we're saying let's move it to the most guaranteed column, which is paying off a loan. What would that feel like from a peace of mind standpoint? And, we already know what it would free up. So let's take a look at the overall 401k structure here.
Yeah. So
I'm excited about this.
I'm going to pretend like he already is putting in $10,000 a year. I don't know
Okay,
what he's putting in. So
we're just getting at least something to look at.
Yep. And so at 56, he has 10,000 already existing in the 401k.
All right. So Tim, $10,000 a year, let's say for 4 years.
Yeah.
Right. So 40 grand going into this, and then he's at an age where he could definitely take the money out without penalty.
Yes.
As long as the rule doesn't change, which it looks okay right now.
Exactly. And then I gave him credit for the first 10,000 because he said he'd been investing it for a year already.
Okay.
So we have 50,000 total going in. I am projecting this out to age 70 to see what will happen by age 70. So if he's got a 6% earnings rate every single year from 56 to 70 with no losses, he put $50,000 in, he's going to have $111,991.
Okay, so just a little bit more than double.
Yep. Now, the biggest reason to do it, right? The employer match. That's the reason that we get told to do this.
Free money.
Free
money.
Right?
Get 100% return on
doesn't
that
want
dollar.
that?
So
Or 50% return if you get 50 cents on the dollar.
Yep.
This
Now
is kind of the terminology we hear.
Exactly. So now we have to put the employee match in. Most common match is 50% up to 6% of your contribution. So for him, that would cap it at about a $3,000 contribution.
And he didn't say whether he was getting this or not, but it's important for everybody to understand.
Exactly. Right. This is one of the big reasons to do it. You'll see what happens now is he gets an extra $16,000 put into the model by the employer. And so you'll see the rate of return has gone from 6 to 6.85.
So not even a full percent.
Not even a full percent.
Not even a full percent.
Yep. People think it's going to have this huge impact on them. It doesn't have nearly as big of an impact. And the higher the balance of the 401k, the worse the impact is.
Because it's the existing money, which he has a really high balance, $1.4 million for a 401k. So the new deposits don't make as much difference.
Oh.
Yep.
That's tricky.
So
And he's older, not old, older.
Yep.
56. So there's not as much time for growth. We're looking to age 70 to give it some room because in 4 years, it's not going to do much.
Yeah. If we will go back, and I can do that right now, I can say, well, let's just say we're going to go out to that same 60-year period, right?
Yes, age 60.
To age 60 for him. Then the rate of return goes way up, 9.08, because those payments had a bigger impact in the short period of term.
Because it was the match during those 4 years versus the other 10 years not having a match.
Exactly. But instead of having 125,000, he's going to have 69,000.
Right. So he put in 50.
Put in 50.
They put in
12,000.
12,000.
And he earned 7,700.
7,700. So this is a big thing. The older you are, the less effective those dollars are because they don't have time to grow.
Exactly. Yep. So if we're going back to 70 to kind of see what this thing will do over time, we can go back to 60 whenever we want to. But the other thing that they always tell us is your tax deferral is a big deal.
Right.
And I want to calculate the tax deferral as a return for you. But in reality, if you think about tax deferral, it's kind of a misleading thing because you're going to pay it sometime. So to show it as a return is basically saying you didn't have to, because you put this money in your 401k, you didn't have to pay tax on that income.
Right.
And people wouldn't have paid tax on that income from their 401k. They would have paid it out of their pocket from somewhere else. So I'm going to bring in a tax deferral. I figure if this gentleman has done a great job of saving the money he saved, that he's earning at least $150,000 a year, probably better to be at 1.4 million in an IRA and 100,000 in a Roth, that kind of stuff. But that'll put him at a 22% tax bracket at this point. Now, when I bring in the taxes deferral, it's going to show that his rate of return is turned on. Sorry, already jumped up, right? Because he got the benefit of this tax deferral. So what it shows now down here at the bottom is he didn't actually pay on this. Oh, that's the problem right there. We want to turn the tax cost off for a minute. So tax deferral shows that he goes from a 6.85% rate of return to an 8.78% rate of return. Now, it didn't change these numbers here, though. He still has $125,000 in account value because all it's showing is if you had not got tax deferral, you would have had to pay the tax. The tax would have come from somewhere. So since you didn't have to pay the tax, it makes it look like the fund earned 8.78%. You would have had to have done 8.78% in a taxed account to equal what you have here.
Got it.
Okay. Now, we've got the rosy picture painted. We haven't put in what else he's got in a 401k. Management fees, right? 401k management fees can be extremely high. They're saying the average fees, depending on the size of the firm and the size of the account, are going to range right now. TD Ameritrade and some others that are pretty favorable say between 0.5% to 2%. Some other studies show them as high as 2.79% as the average fee, right? So I don't want to go to the high end. I just took the 0.5 and the 2 and hit the middle at 1.25. So if we turn on that, his rate of return drops back down to 7.43.
Just because of the fees.
Just because of the fee.
Right.
So now instead of 125,000, he's going to have 105.
Right. So 20 grand gone.
The 401k
just
company,
like that.
Yeah. Yep. And they took 13,000 in fees, but he lost $20,000.
Because those fees would have earned interest.
Exactly.
So that's called opportunity cost.
Yep.
Right.
Now the next
This
thing
is so disturbing. This pie chart is the most disturbing pie chart I've seen in a long time.
The next thing we haven't done now is he kicked the tax can down the road. Now he's got to pay tax.
On top of all of this.
When he goes to take it out.
Okay.
If I turn on tax cost, the first thing it's going to do is it's going to take it out in a lump sum. And most people aren't going to take it in a lump sum, but you'll see if I do it in a lump sum, his return drops to 5.36%, so less than the 6%.
Because he'll pay a higher tax rate because it's a big sum of money.
And yeah, here it may not be that much of a tax rate boost because he had 125,000 total balance, allegedly, and he was earning 150 before in this model.
Right.
So he may not have really gone up
similar.
in the tax rate, right? But he could have. So I can show it coming out over time because that makes the lump sum income tax $24,000 if I do it in a lump sum.
Just on the 125.
On the 125.
Okay.
Right? If I say instead, okay, let's
take it out over time.
Spread this out. Then I can say, okay, let's pick an age for him. We can pick a 10-year age. I don't know where we want to start. He mentioned the withdrawal thing at 60. So let's say he starts at 60 and he wants to, over 15 years, turn it to zero, right? So I can show a smaller amount. That's what I've done here. From 60 to age 76, I show that he took out an equal amount of $7,195 a year. That's what would turn it to zero. That brought the tax burden down from $24,000 to $17,000. So it brought the return back up to 6.28.
Okay.
So that 50% match from the employer really, at the end, gave him a 0.28% boost, and that's it, over what he would have got without it.
Right, and that's because of fees and taxes.
Fees and taxes.
And we haven't accounted for volatility, which they can watch another video we did on the impact of volatility.
Yes, because if he has a single loss year in this model, the numbers will be drastically different, not in his favor.
Right, because he's only looking till age 60.
Time. Yep.
Or, yeah.
Yeah, and we can change the numbers and stuff, but this is exactly what the model will do this over and over again. It always ends up this way.
So how hard is it to go to a $3,000 contribution with a $3,000 match?
Okay.
I just want to take a look at what that does because that's the 100% return myth.
Okay.
Oh, I'm getting 100% return. Maybe in your first year.
And that's the thing too, is you really don't ever get 100% return in most 401ks now because they do a 50% match up to 6. So you'd have to put in 6 to get 3,000.
Right.
In most models.
But if you happen to have one of those where it's like we match 100% on 3%, which is what I had when I was 19 years old.
Yeah, that was
common. I took advantage of that back then. And I don't like that I'm aging. It's messed up. But $3,000 going in, $3,000 being matched. We look at that over the same period of time. I just want to see the impact.
So if we've got the person, like you mentioned, $3,000 are getting a full 100% match at $3,000. They're going to put in $22,000 in total contributions. The net employer match will be at $37,000 because that's going to show the money that the employer put in plus the growth on that over time. So he put in $22,000 of his own money. He gained $37,000 on the employer match and the interest on the employer match, and I have it still showing until age 70. And then he earned another $37,000 on his own money.
Right.
So he has
his money plus the interest.
Total account balance is $76,000. So we see with the match, he went from a 6% rate of return to a 9.18 because that was the 100%.
Not 100%.
Nope.
Not 100% return, going from 6% to 9%.
Yep.
Right? Because now there's money in there already earning interest. They would have to match all the previous dollars to keep it at 100%, which is impossible.
Yep.
Because it would just be an exponential amount of money.
And to show that better, if I take out the present value and say he's starting on day 1, so he doesn't have any current money in there, you'll see it makes the return go up to 11.54, right? But that's because now he's getting the 100% match on the 100 the whole time. He still didn't get a 100% match. That would have put him at a full 12%.
Right, because the second year, there's now his money in there and their money earning interest, but when he puts a new deposit, they're only matching that. They're not matching the previous dollars that are in the plan.
That's so tricky.
This free money has a lot of conditions. A vesting period of how long you have to go before you actually get access to that money. He's probably at that because he's got so much money in there.
Yep.
But someone just starting out. 2, when do you get the money? When you actually take it out. So if the market goes down, that could actually decimate some of that so-called free money. But here's the bigger issue. What if someone isn't as responsible as him, isn't as far along as him, and now they're trying to get the match, but they don't have enough savings? What if they're trying to get the match, but they have a 22% interest rate credit card? What if they're trying to get the match at the expense of investing in their own skill sets or doing the things they want to do, or they've got the so-called golden handcuffs, so they're working somewhere they don't want to work simply because of the match? How many people say, I don't like what I do, but it provides good benefits? Well, if you don't like what you do, you're going to diminish who you are in this world. You're going to get tired over time. You're going to be begging for retirement and find out that even this person with $1.4 million in a 401k, $100,000 in a Roth IRA, if we take that and keep it safe in retirement and earn an interest rate on it, the amount of income coming off of that, what do you think, Tim?
It's pretty alarming.
$40,000, $50,000 a year, which
lucky.
is a lot less than what he was used to or earning. So a millionaire on paper and a pauper in life.
Yeah.
So here's someone who did all the right things, everything that they were told to do. And the question is still, what kind of lifestyle will that provide?
Yeah. That's the alarming thing for most of these retirees. I mean, he's done an excellent job. He is so far ahead of most Americans in his savings, right? So far ahead. And yet, in order for him to have anywhere close to what he's earning now, he would have to have a 10% return on that money or better. And you're not going to do that safely.
Yep. So the first problem is 4 years period of time doesn't get you very far because the earnings doesn't, we're looking all the way out to age 70 before you really see this gain. $22,000 in, $37,000 total on $22,000 that you put in. You know, if they put a match, there's another $37,000 on top of that. So of your $22,000, you end up with around, $70,000 over the next 15 years. Well, $70,000, if you take interest off of $70,000, even if it's 10%, that's $7,000 a year, almost 15 years from now.
Yep.
It's not moving the needle far enough. So
Not at all.
at this age, it really comes down to, I don't know if I would make contributions, especially not above a match, right?
Yeah.
And it might make more sense to free up $1,500 a month by paying off a mortgage, depending on what the mortgage is. We just have to compare cash flow. The two best tools I know to do that is, number one, the cash flow index.
Yes.
So you take your loan balance, divide it by the minimum monthly payment, and it spits out a number. If that number's low, 50 or less, you've got a cash hog on your hands. It's requiring a lot of your monthly cash flow to service that loan. If it's above 100, it's fairly efficient. But what I want people to look at is their investment index. How much money did you deposit of your own cash into the investment, and how much cash flow can that create? You divide that cash flow by the deposit, and it tells your investment index. If your investment index is higher than your cash flow index, you want to pay off the loan. If your investment index is lower than your cash flow index, you want to stay invested. Now, you could probably explain that really well.
Yeah, it's like the example you brought up at the very beginning. If he could take the same amount of savings from the 401k over the next 4 or 5 years, put that in a savings account, use that in the Roth, and it frees up $1,500 a month. We're talking about, like you mentioned, a total investment. We were talking about $19,000 over that 4 years. So you would have put it away $76,000, $80,000, and you would have taken the Roth, used that to pay off the house. Then you've created $18,000 a month. So the math on that would be $180,000 divided by $18,000. That's a 10% rate of return.
Right, from a cash flow standpoint.
From a cash flow standpoint. If instead he puts the $180,000 in the market or somewhere and tries to draw interest off of it, is it going to create the same $1,500 a month?
Well, we've got volatility. So if the market goes down and you still try to take $1,500 a month, it starts to eat away at your principal during those down years.
It compounds it.
And it compounds it. It's called disinvesting. Investing is on the way up. Disinvesting is it starts to kill the account just as rapidly on that compounding cost. And so this is why we saw, even years ago when the market was really good, Peter Lynch was talking about the problem of disinvesting. And I remember him saying, if you're trying to take more than 4% out of the stock market during your retirement years, you risk your principal. Or we saw the Trinity studies from Trinity University saying, if you take more than 4%, you risk your principal. And that was during a time where the stock market yielded more than it does today.
Yep.
So, that's why people are moving to fixed accounts. And with the Fed continuing to cut rates, it's cutting the income for retirees and making it more affordable for businesses to borrow, but not so good for people that are trying to earn an income by lending money through bonds, whether that's corporate or government bonds, or fixed income instruments, which create a cash flow that's predictable. That predictability has lowered things substantially. So if we look at fixed annuities, those are so astronomically low on the interest rates that it's not kicking off much cash flow. Now, if we go to the stock market and you're in retirement, you run the risk of ruining everything that you built to that point. it's it's heavily concerning.
It is. It's very concerning. And so, where he's got a opportunity to create a guaranteed $1,500 a month, the 401k would never produce that for him on its own.
All right. So there's the answer. Should you fund a 401k? Well, it depends on your age. Have you built up enough cash flow? Have you built up your cash reserves? Have you paid off your higher interest rates? Use the cash flow index, loan balance divided by monthly payment, and the investment index, the amount of investment that you put into it, your capital, not what it's worth, but what you put into it, divided by the cash flow. For most people, 401ks are zero. They're not providing cash flow, and this is the problem. We're being trained to accumulate, when the reality is we've got to be trained to create cash flow, because that's how we can actually live off things without destroying the principle.